In the year 7 BCE, something rare happened in the night sky. Jupiter and Saturn, the two brightest planets visible to the ancient world, drifted closer together than they had in centuries. Over 8 months, the planets came within 1 degree of each other 3 times. Ancient astronomers would have noticed. This was an omen. For 2,000 years, Christians have told the story of a star that guided wise men to Bethlehem. But what did they actually see? The Gospel of Matthew tells us that Magi from the east saw his star at its rising and traveled to Jerusalem. Luke's Gospel mentions no star. John's doesn't. Only Matthew. The Magi weren't kings. They were professional astrologers from Babylon or Persia, trained to read the heavens for signs of royal births and divine events. Was it a planetary conjunction? A comet? A supernova? Today, we'll explore 5 astronomical theories, and why the answer might be more complex than any single explanation. In 1614, Johannes Kepler calculated that in 7 BCE, Jupiter and Saturn had formed a rare triple conjunction. He proposed this as the Star of Bethlehem. In ancient astrology, Jupiter represented kingship. Saturn represented divine authority. And Pisces, where the conjunction occurred, was associated with the Jewish people. Together, a king born in Judea. But here's the catch, even at their closest, Jupiter and Saturn never merged into a single brilliant star. To the naked eye, they appeared as 2 separate lights, unusually close. The conjunction lasted months, long enough for Magi to observe, interpret, plan a journey, and travel hundreds of miles. And Babylonian astronomers did record unusual planetary activity around this time. Comets were seen as omens in the ancient world. Halley's comet appeared in 12 BCE, close to Jesus' birth. Could this have been the star? But the dates don't quite match. Most scholars place Jesus' birth between 7 and 4 BCE, after Herod's reign but before his death. Halley's comet is a few years too early. There's another issue. In Greco-Roman culture, comets often signaled disaster, wars, plagues, the death of kings. Not necessarily a joyful royal birth. Chinese astronomers kept meticulous records. In 5 BCE and again in 4 BCE, they noted guest stars, new stars that appeared suddenly and remained visible for weeks. A nova is a stellar explosion, a star that suddenly becomes thousands of times brighter, visible even during the day, then gradually fades over weeks or months. Kepler himself thought the conjunction might have triggered a nova, combining both phenomena. A new star appearing near the planetary alignment would have been doubly significant. But Matthew says the star came to rest over Bethlehem. How does a nova, or any celestial object, point to a specific house? This is where the text becomes difficult to map onto astronomy. On June 17, 2 BCE, Venus and Jupiter came so close together that from Babylon, they would have looked like a single, blazingly bright star, the most spectacular celestial sight in decades. There's a major problem. Herod the Great died in 4 BCE. If Jesus was born during Herod's reign, as Matthew states, then this 2 BCE event happens too late. And there's another issue. This conjunction appeared in the western sky at sunset. But the Magi needed to travel south from Jerusalem to Bethlehem. A western star doesn't guide you south. Astronomer Molnar proposed a different theory. In 6 BCE, the moon passed in front of Jupiter twice in the constellation Aries, an event ancient astrologers would have calculated as signaling a divine king's birth. This theory shifts the question. The Magi wouldn't have seen a brilliant star. They would have calculated an astrologically significant event, and known when to depart. Matthew's phrase, "we saw his star at its rising," is technical language. It refers to a star's heliacal rising, when it first appears in the dawn sky. This is astrologer terminology. So we have 5 theories. Each fits some of Matthew's account. But each also has problems. No single astronomical event perfectly matches every detail. Let's be clear, the Magi were not kings. The Bible never says there were 3. They were Magi, a Persian term for Zoroastrian priests trained in astronomy and astrology. They came from Persia or Babylon, centers of ancient astronomy. For centuries, these civilizations had tracked planetary movements, predicted eclipses, and interpreted celestial omens. Babylonian astronomy was extraordinarily sophisticated. By 1800 BCE, they were using mathematical models to predict the first visibility of the new moon, calculations accurate to within hours. In ancient astrology, planetary positions corresponded to earthly events. Jupiter in a constellation linked to a specific nation, combined with other rare alignments, signaled a royal birth in that land. The Magi traveled hundreds of miles, weeks or months on foot and camel. They brought expensive gifts, gold, frankincense, myrrh. This was a diplomatic mission to honor a prophesied king. When they arrived in Jerusalem asking, "Where is the one-born king of the Jews?" Herod was terrified. A rival king? He ordered his own scholars to search the scriptures. Matthew says the star went ahead of them to Bethlehem, 5 miles south. Some scholars suggest they saw a star rising in the southern sky at dusk, confirming their journey's direction. If the Star of Bethlehem was a spectacular celestial event witnessed across the ancient world, why does only Matthew mention it? Luke's nativity story is completely different. Shepherds hear angels. Joseph and Mary travel for a census. After Jesus is born, they return home. No Magi. No star. No journey from the east. This raises a question scholars have debated for centuries: is Matthew recording historical events, or crafting a theological narrative rich in Old Testament symbolism? Numbers 2400:17, the star prophecy of Balaam. Matthew's audience would have recognized the allusion. Numbers 2400:17 prophesies, a star will come out of Jacob, a Messiah. Matthew may be saying, this is that star fulfilled. Here's where we make space for both perspectives. You can study ancient astronomy and appreciate Matthew's literary artistry, and still find the story spiritually meaningful. So what was the Star of Bethlehem? The honest answer is, we don't know for certain. Multiple astronomical events are plausible. None perfectly fits every detail. But here's what we do know. The ancient sky was full of wonders. Planets aligned. Comets streaked overhead. Stars suddenly appeared. The Magi had plenty to observe, interpret, and act upon. And perhaps the story's power doesn't depend on identifying one specific star. Matthew's message endures. Wise seekers from distant lands recognized something extraordinary and journeyed to see it. So this December, look up. Imagine the Magi, astrologer-priests scanning the heavens month after month. Imagine what they saw. And ask yourself, what wonders are we missing because we've stopped looking? If you enjoyed this investigation, subscribe for more biblical mysteries where archaeology, astronomy, and ancient texts collide. Next time, the Nephilim, ancient giants, or mistranslation.